Now, Dominic, oops. Okay, now read officially. Guten Morgen, good
Mine
morning.
works too, I suppose.
Welcome to the artist talks. Maybe meet the artist. Let's unfold this amazing content development through one-to-one artist conversations. Me, Çağla, and Sandip will bring few positions who are still around, and maybe 1-2 questions. There will be 10-15 minute sessions. So we will dig out the research elements, the content development, presentation details, display material, this sort of things together. And we start with İstanbul, Erinç Seymen. Hello, Erinç.
Hi. I thought it was a rehearsal. So we actually started.
We will start.
Yeah, alright.
Is it me or I don't know, since few days when I pass by the blue room,
Yeah.
this one of your draw pieces has a very specific reference. I don't know why I see Donald Trump,
Yeah.
Elon Musk, and all these figures that has maybe semi-god, semi-human, semi-digital, semi-mediatic sort of personas. And it was also kind of reference to the current delirium, current schizophrenia. We are global schizophrenia that we are going through. Like we are expecting maybe the most irrelevant person to come up with the piece. So explain what's going on in the blue room, and can you also respond to the time frame between you and the great Otodix? It's almost 100 years.
I guess you're referring to the drawing on the right wing when you enter the room from this direction. So, okay, I think many of the audience is familiar with François Rabelais and his enormous masterpiece, Gargantua. I think Rabelais at his time was a very creative historian who saw a new age is on the way. Not just because the technology was also developing quite fast at that time, because gunfires were changing the whole frame of war games, but also he was witnessing an era where the aristocracy was being pushed to the margins, and a new mind was coming to the center as the leading structure. So I think Gargantua is an excellent metaphor of his time and of the coming centuries following when the book was published. So I think we have now, I would say, entered a gargantuan era, and now perhaps it's peaking. So this may be the peak point of this era. I would call the gargantuan era. So what was Gargantua? Gargantua was a human child who had endless appetites, that could cry and laugh, that would suffer, but then again, all of his emotions and needs and urges are so disproportionately big. A whole population of city would have to, calm the baby, feed the baby, make the baby laugh, and they were enslaved to his huge emotions. So it wasn't just about power, I think. It was about mostly about the uncontrollable mass of emotions he was producing, the baby was producing. So Gargantua was unlike the other leaders or kings that were, okay, maybe they were spoiled brats as well, but they would stop their feelings at some point. So I think Gargantua was the a prototype of a new coming, less irrational, less controllable, more emotionally charged and directionless, perhaps, the entropic sort of creature that would swallow everything and only multiplying by his emotions. So I'm not one of those people who would romanticize the past and that just things go just worse and worse. I mean, I don't want to come to that point, obviously, but when I was growing up, watching those sci-fi movies and watching and reading sci-fi literature was, of course, one of my biggest inspirations. And when I look at the sci-fi movies shot in the 60s, you see these how the future mankind is depicted was those almost emotionally numb people who seem to be extensions of machines, who are not led by their emotions or their feelings or even their personal needs, but they were serving something bigger than themselves, and they were acting almost like social insects. They were dressing the same, like personality is not staged or overstated, it's almost silenced. And
sort of Marvel.
Yeah, but this is also a bit, I think this is a bit different than Marvel, because social insects, they don't even mind if they would be killed or not, because your personal presence is not that important. So sci-fi movies and literature at that time, 50s and 60s, they were still picturing the future man as someone who has no personality, no uncontrollable emotional baggage, who would be just part of a bigger plan, who would be super rational, and who wouldn't mind when he's gonna die or when how long he's gonna live.
With a concern with time, can you also reflect on the neighbor Autodix in this context?
Yeah, I just want to frame this up and then I will shift to Autodix. So we were promised a future man with future human with more concrete agenda that would be based on mutual needs and mutual empathy and less of personality. But then again, I think the exact opposite happens. The population started to follow the most irrational, the most irrelevant, the most outrageous, and they just want to be, as far as I observe also in my country, the population just want, also the definition of freedom somehow changed drastically. Like if a leader can do whatever they want and act however they want without being censored or
absolute power
framed, that's absolute power, and that's the political utopia one can reach, a population can reach. Because if your leader can do anything, then you're somehow allowed to do anything against anyone. So you don't have to be concerned with things such as ethical anxieties or whether you're hurting someone or not. Even the daily empathy starts to die down. So I think what may be the gap between me and Autodix? Autodix was still somehow, I mean, he witnessed the 19th century as well, which is still the I would say, early Gargantuan era, but he also saw the mass hysteria and one of the most outrageous regimes just fall down on him, and he also experienced himself in it. So he was a volunteer soldier, which is the craziest thing to do at his time as an artist as well. But he did that. So I think he wanted to get dirty and be in the thing he would hate the most. So he didn't distance himself from the nightmare, but he dived into the nightmare somehow. I'm not gonna say I did the same thing, because I always felt out where I was born somehow because of my family past. I had to be the opponent, which was decided before I decided on anything. So and now the 20th century Gargantuas are way more evolved, and they don't even have to plan anything, it seems, because like for instance, Trump's triumph just happened a couple of days ago, and the mastermind behind his triumph, this guy, I don't recall his name, but he wrote a book on it's called Hillbilly Elegy, and he was opposing Trump in such a violent way. I mean, he would have perhaps supported Democrats, and Democrats could have won. But instead, he changed his side. Who can tell why? And he also somehow changed the events of history for all of us. So there is, I think, like being a political. These days, when I listen to the radio or TV channels, and they invite political experts, and they expect them to, foresee political events or make predictions about what we have to endure. And I think this pretty much started to feel as if it's fortune telling, because there isn't. I mean, the logical chain doesn't exist anymore, I think, because of this gargantuan, what I call at least, era psychology. So perhaps mass psychology could be more helpful for us than the political analysis, because everything is so unpredictable, so unforeseeable. I think being a political expert, okay, we need that. Of course, someone has to perform the political science, but I don't think this would be helpful for us by itself. And this is also one of the reasons why artists as a group who can speculate on things in a wider range than the academicians
maybe
will have to play a more important role, I suppose, to understand us, to understand why we do things and why we keep doing things, or why we stop some of our choices.
maybe this place, now we are talking about things getting more unpredictable, is a good place to leave for the next round. Yeah.
Are we done?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
These are 10, 15